12 in college football. Hard to believe the season has flown by with only one more week of regular season play. But this week, it's a big week in the ACC and the SEC. And let's throw it to James, talk a little bit about the games.
And this is the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection presented by Toyota, where each and every week we kind of go over the list of games that are happening this week and as well as last week and how it affects the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl played here in Jacksonville, Florida on December 29th at noon. What's going on, Greg? How you doing?
Doing great. Great.
Last week was pretty exciting with some college football.
Yeah, it was a day full of exciting games from noontime until midnight. So 12 hours of college football and great games at the beginning and at the end of the day.
Records were broken. Rivalries got renewed and reflamed. And we got more clarity on the college football playoff potentially, but absolutely no real clarity where we're going to right now with the Gator Bowl. But as we do each and every week, it does help us learn exactly all the mechanics and things that go into it. Now, quick selling point for the bowl game and for the Chairman's Club members that have got a chance to scout games, you guys actually went over how that whole process went yesterday, correct?
Correct. We reviewed a lot of scenarios out there, and again, this week, week 12 is going to provide a little bit more clarity, but at the same time, depending on how some games end up in both the ACC and the SEC, it could muddy the water even more.
So going back over the list of games last week in the ACC, what were some of your favorite games in the ACC last week, and what are some of those outcomes, and how do they kind of dictate what's going on this week?
Well, I think the game that probably was the most competitive was North Carolina at Duke, or Duke at North Carolina. Tough calls at the end for Duke, certainly in that game, but Carolina found a way to win the game, and so it sets up a huge game this week, Carolina versus Clemson, which is a big game for us because it may provide a little bit more separation since Carolina has 8 wins now. Could that be their 9th win? And Clemson would be stuck on 6. So a lot of separation there, but also you've got Louisville and Miami and NC State versus Virginia Tech, a big weekend in the ACC. But last week was just filled with games that were really exciting. You saw Missouri play really good and work their way up above Ole Miss in the rankings, which was a huge bump up for Missouri.
Missouri, I think they had a guy break the running back that has, I think he has to have 200 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving. Probably not the best for a team coming in this week that's trying to become bowl eligible. But LSU also had a really big game. 701 American football yards is a lot. That's a lot in any kind of game, and particularly against another FBS opponent. But Jaden Daniels possibly coming to Jacksonville will be excited to the.
Well, he certainly was special that day. Not only throwing the ball, but running the ball, and just shows what a weapon he is, and has to be a leader in the Heisman race. But a big game for that. But Florida needs to win one of the last 2 games, which they'll be big underdogs, I think, in each game. But hopefully things won't get too wacky this weekend because. Certainly, we'd like to be on a path to on teams we figure we have a good shot at, but certainly some upsets at the end could upset the apple cart.
Notre Dame still, they're obviously not necessarily a choice for Jacksonville, but a choice that would affect the other games in the Premium Bowl, which would be San Diego and Orlando. Yep. But we kind of want them to continue to win too, so they could take maybe that makes us have another premium ACC team. This week, what are some of staying in the ACC, what are some of the games that we need to be looking forward to, and do they truly affect the Gator Bowl?
Yeah, I think Louisville, Miami does, because Louisville's got a tough road to go, and they've got to play more than likely, if they keep winning, Florida State at the end. So can they stay up in that top 12, so to speak, with a loss or 2, or drop down? Because the ACC has to place a team in the Orange Bowl against either the ACC or the Big Ten. the SEC or the Big Ten. So some dynamics there. North Carolina, Clemson, as I mentioned, there could be more separation, or it closes the gap there between Clemson and North Carolina. And then NC State or Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's trying to become bowl eligible. They could win their last two and have 7 wins and be in reach of the teams that might have 8 wins. So a lot of things going on. Then you flip to the SEC, and Tennessee hosts Georgia. Certainly that could really throw things in a confusion if Tennessee upsets Georgia there. But also Florida, Missouri, we mentioned, is going to be a tough environment there for Florida to enter. And then you've got Kentucky and South Carolina. South Carolina, if they win their last 2, they'd be bowl eligible. But a long road to go, and as I mentioned, there could be some upsets this week that could really upset our teams that are in contention for our bowl.
So a loss by Louisville to Miami, would that open? And then obviously they still could. North Carolina continues to win out. I don't know, maybe a coin flip, somebody pulls a name out of the hat. One of those 2 teams will play in the ACC championship, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be going to Miami.
Well, one of those, somebody has to fill that spot from the ACC. So it could be Louisville. If Florida State loses, which I know nobody wants on their committee to follow the Noles, but if they lose, they're going to drop down and fill that Orange Bowl spot, which might be their only ACC team in New Year's Day Bowl game. So they have to fill that spot with whoever ends up with the second best record in the ACC. So again, if they have a Big Ten team plays in that game, or an SEC team, we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. So we've got some new things going. So obviously this week of games it's just kind of, we hope no upsets happen that truly make things even more money, but it's not as exciting as all the other weeks were. I think Thanksgiving weekend is going to be another one of those great football weekends. But we have some new stuff on the board. We did not have notables up there last time. So could you explain what notables is, or what we're going to talk about with that, and kind of how does this affect the Gator Bowl?
Well, there's certain stipulations, especially in the ACC agreement, that prevents rematches or repeat appearances at a bowl site within either last year or within a 2-year period. So, for instance, Kentucky can't go to Nashville because they were there last year. LSU can't go to probably Orlando or Houston because they played there the last 2 years. Same thing with North Carolina. I know they can't go to San Diego, and NC State probably couldn't go to San Diego either because they played there 2 years ago, even though they never played the game because UCLA canceled at the end. But you got some dynamics that kick into play. Clemson can't play Tennessee again because they matched up in the Orange Bowl last year. So you've got some dynamics that are working that either put teams in play and might cause confusion, because the ACC team that might be trending for us might be disqualified from playing an SEC team. So a lot of dynamics go there because of language in the contracts and the necessity of not repeating where you played last year or who you played even next year, or who you're going to play next year. Tennessee plays NC State next year. It's probably not a good matchup if that were to be the case for this year.
So looking at it right now, on the ACC side, if everything continues to go the way that it's trending, Florida State will be playing in the college football playoff. Louisville will more than likely be the ACC's representative in the New Year's Six. So what premium teams does that leave for the Gator Bowl to be able to pick out of the ACC?
Well, right now we feel like there are 7 teams in play, Notre Dame being one of those. But if there's a Big Ten team playing in the Orange Bowl, then Tampa has a pick. And then after that, it's Jacksonville, San Diego, and Orlando. So I'm sure Notre Dame is going to be very attractive for all of these bowls, especially the ReliaQuest Bowl, because they'll probably have 9 wins. So that still keeps North Carolina, NC State, Miami, Duke, Clemson, Boston College. They're right packed in there with either 7 or 6 wins. So again, more separation because there's a lot of head-to-head play this weekend. And then on the SEC side, the Missouri ranking in the college football playoff significantly higher than Ole Miss, probably keeps Ole Miss out of a New Year's Day 6 and bumps Missouri up. So that puts Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, Auburn, and A&M in play for our game, and then it just gets down to picks. I know the Citrus Bowl would have the first pick, so you make some assumptions there, but they take Ole Miss, and then that leaves Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, Auburn, A&M in play, and can Florida or South Carolina work their way into bowl eligibility? We'll just have to wait and see.
All right. So with that, I'm going to make I just want LSU because I would like to see Jaden Daniels again. I also have some LSU friends that I've met over the last couple of years that wouldn't mind showing them around Jacksonville a little bit. And North Carolina LSU, I think, would be an amazing game. That's just me picking. I don't know. But we got to go through a whole bunch of other stuff. But I guess we might need to start putting that up on this board. The big game pick. North Carolina LSU would be who I'm picking. Which I guess that would make me on par with one of ESPN's. But have any of these predictions changed? Or any of them kind of feel like they might be going down the right direction with the projections for the bowl game?
Well, you're seeing some common picks. I mean, Tennessee in the 7 that we track, Tennessee's in 4 of those predictions. On the other side, North Carolina's a common name you see there. Clemson probably has some work to do because they lost head-to-head against North Carolina and Duke. So that kind of puts those 2 schools, if all things were equal, they would place them ahead of Clemson. So predictions all over the board, but you're seeing some common names appear, and all those bode well for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl.
So obviously, each and every week we have the college football playoff. The rankings come in. That's now the only rankings that matter. Little change, nothing crazy. What are your thoughts on the 4 and the order in which they are? And tell me your thoughts on the Florida State and Washington, and like, why does it seem like a lot of people want Florida State out, and why does it seem like the bowl committee maybe kind of picking on Washington with them being outside looking in?
Well, I wouldn't be too worried right now about if I was 5th right now, because somebody's going to lose in the Big Ten. So I think whoever loses that game, Ohio State, Michigan, is going to drop out. Because if Washington goes undefeated, Pac-12 champions, FSU goes undefeated through the ACC, they're going to be up in the top 4. And then the factor, if Georgia plays out and they play Alabama upsets Georgia, what have you, that kicks into play. But I think you're going to have the undefeated Big Ten champion, an undefeated ACC champion, undefeated Pac-12 champion. That's going to be 3 of the 4. So then the others just have to play out. I think if Georgia continues to go undefeated, obviously they'd be in play and it'd be over with. But as we know, Washington's got a big game against Oregon State this weekend. Georgia's got a tough game at Tennessee. It's always tough against them. And then who knows what will happen in the championship games that'll be played the first Saturday in December. So we'll just have to wait and see.
So games got to get played. We've seen Washington score a ton of points. We've also seen Washington not be able to stop a nosebleed. We've also seen Arizona State, a team with 3 wins, hold Washington with a potential Heisman Trophy candidate to no offensive points. So it's a crazy game, and that's why you got to play these. But the craziest scenario would be if Georgia is to be upset by Alabama and everybody else moves forward. What I tell Florida State fans is what I don't want to be is I don't want to be number 1. Because if we get number 1, that means Georgia got upset by Alabama. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to be number 1 or 4. I don't want 30 days with Kirby Smart and Nick Saban having to be able to plan for us. Give me anybody else but that. But we've also seen crazier. You were at the University of Florida, I believe, when they got a chance to go to the national championship game. They were out of contention until games got played in championship weekend. So that's the beautiful thing about college football. That's why we love it. Parody, pageantry, all of those different things. So When we come back next week, we'll have a special Thanksgiving episode and probably a whole bunch of anarchy to talk about going into the holidays. So for Greg and Garrity, I'm at Big Game James _36, and this is the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection presented by Toyota. We'll see you guys next week.
Welcome back for another off the field update. We are inside today because the weather is nasty outside, but we are still continuing to roll with a lot of our Gator Bowl Charities programs. We've really hit full swing. This morning I was at DuPont Middle School. We brought some breakfast for the teachers there and got to award them with some tickets to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl this year, which is always a really fun thing for us to do. We've been partners at DuPont Middle School for 7-8+ years. And love to go see and reward their teachers for all that they do. In addition, with our teacher program, the Most Valuable Teacher Initiative presented by FIS, there is a couple more weeks to nominate or apply if you're a DCPS teacher. As a reminder, each week we give $1,000 out to a local DCPS teacher. We got to go to a school yesterday, Lone Star Elementary, and surprise a teacher who was also a veteran. And so that one was a lot of fun as well. There's going to be a link below for you guys to click on. If you are a DCPS teacher, you can apply, or if you know a DCPS teacher, you can nominate, and it is a random draw. So may the best teacher win.
Other off the field programs, you'll notice I got off the treadmill because that was way harder last week than I thought it would be. And as Kayla said, we're back on 2 feet on ground. But I opened my mouth for some other cause, and that is giving, what we're going to call Giving November. And so Giving Tuesday, as you know, is the first Tuesday in December, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And it's difficult to stand out on that day because so many charities are talking about their programs. So we decided to be bold, and we're having Giving November. So starting last Friday through the end of the month, we, the staff, have challenged our membership group, the corporate partners, the Chairman's Club, and our Green Jackets to a fundraising competition. The goal is to raise $10,000 collectively to benefit Gator Bowl charities. And so that can be used from Send a Child to the Game to support our Dream Team initiatives, general charities programming. And so we would like to ask you to consider contributing to that campaign as we challenge our Green Jackets and corporate members. Of course, we want you to donate to the staff campaign so that we can win, but all in all, it's for the organization, for the kids, and so please just consider supporting as you are making donations in support of giving events this season. The second thing I will say is they talked a lot about football in the previous segment, and as we close out sort of this period of the year prior to the announcement of teams, there are some programs locally where you can purchase tickets at a discount or to help raise money for a local organization. So check out our youth fundraising program. I think there's 10 to 15 somewhere in their programs currently selling tickets at a discounted rate, and a portion of that proceeds goes back to those school or youth organizations. Secondly, if you are an active duty service person, you can purchase tickets, and maybe if you're a veteran too, you can purchase tickets at the MWR ITT offices at NAS Jax in Kings Bay and Mayport, so all 3 locations, and a portion of that goes back to support those base initiatives. And then thirdly, coming soon, if you're a YMCA member, you're going to be getting a ticket offer also for a discounted ticket, and a portion of that goes back to support YMCA. So as you look and hear Greg and James talk about the teams under consideration, who we may pick, and you're thinking about potentially coming on the 29th, check out those programs and buy those tickets that are cheaper and support local initiatives prior to December 1st. And I think our last thing, it's back to you.
Yeah, if you want to send a child to the game, there's 2 programs that we have to do that. One is called the Send a Child to the Game program, presented by ViStar Credit Union. Every year we bring about 1,200 local youth and their family members from all across Northeast Florida to the game. We provide transportation for them. They get a pregame meal thanks to our partners at Chick-fil-A. They get a TaxSlayer Gator Bowl t-shirt, and then of course get to come to the game. So there's a link below for you to donate to that. It's $75 to provide one child's experience. $3,000 provides an entire bus of 40, their experience for the day. In addition to that, a couple years ago, I guess maybe 4 or 5 now, we started the high school takeover program in partnership with ITG Next. And that is similar to Send a Child to the Game, but it is really geared at high school student athletes. So we work with high schools all across Northeast Florida, Southeast Georgia, to bring high school student athletes across all sports to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. We this year are bringing about 500 of them So similar to Send a Child, you can provide an experience for one of them using the link below and help them make memories. I think these memories last a lifetime. We can all remember being a kid and getting to go to a football game or some sporting event that impacted your life. So this is a way for you to provide that experience for a local child here in our community.
We'll see you next week, 1 week closer to team selection, and I think the landscape will be more clear. See you soon.